Hey everybody, thank you so much for stopping back by the channel. If you're new, please consider subscribing and leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about this topic. Let me know if it's something you can relate to. If you personally dealt with this growing up as a witness, if it affected you after you left, or if you know of people who grew up with this issue. The issue is about money. Now, well, before I get into the conversation, let me just say this. I know that everybody's situation will not be the same, and I know that some people may not be able to relate to this because, you know, we are all raised by different parents who had different parents, which means that even if our parents were in the organization, raised us in the organization, both raised in it, doesn't mean that their parents weren't different and didn't maybe instill some things in them that they brought over even though they were witnesses. So for me, this is a situation that directly affected me, that directly affected, I could tell, some people that was around me in my congregation and all of that. And like I said, it has to do with money. It has to do with how, our relationship with it, how we thought about it, the little importance that was placed on it. Okay, and many of this has to do with the way that it's presented in the organization. You're supposed to focus on kingdom interests. You're not supposed to be going after materialistic things. Now, of course, I know that some things have changed in the organization recently, or more recently, since I've been out. And so they've been more open to people trying to go to school or do different things like that. But back then, it was really frowned upon. Okay, so there were not really anybody that I knew going to college. And there were some, individuals who had good companies that they own, witnesses that own their own companies and were successful. And there were some people who worked in corporate America and, had money or whatever. But for the most part, the people that I knew in my family, we weren't one of those families. And with my situation, my dad was the only one working. My mom, was sick pretty much the whole time, like I mentioned in the video before about the mental illness stuff. And there was 4 kids. So that would put pressure on anybody. So I'm not trying to knock my dad and say, he didn't do, his best and all that, because I know he did. He was taking care of 4 kids and a wife. So it would be very difficult for him to do that, no matter what kind of job he had, But I just know that mentality that is instilled in witnesses. Hold on, the plane is going by. Okay, so that mentality that is instilled in witnesses would have played a part in what type of decisions he would make when it came to his, what jobs he would take or wouldn't take, if they interfered with spiritual things or not. My dad, I know he didn't graduate high school, so he had to go back and get his GED, right? But he might have done more than that if it was not so frowned upon within the organization, because he was the only one working. He might have, said, what can I do to make the maximum amount of money, to take care of my family, right? But it was because of that. And I'm it's just very interesting how that affects everything when it comes to the way that, what you think about how you make the money, how you save the money, how you put the money away for the future, how you invest, if you do that or not. A lot of this stuff is affected. And of course, if you have parents who don't, focus on those things, they definitely don't pass those things down to you either. They don't talk about that stuff. I didn't get taught about it, because my dad, like I said, his mom, he grew up mainly with his mom and stepdad. So they probably didn't teach him, but that doesn't mean that later on in life you can't learn. And all I'm saying is, if he didn't have this frowned upon in the organization, perhaps he might have taken the steps to learn, because it was a challenge. He was stressed out a lot, with money issues, because it was always like barely making ends meet. But the idea in the organization is that Jehovah is going to provide for you, and as long as you keep putting interest first, putting kingdom interest first, So it was a very interesting childhood growing up with that, I could say, scarce kind of mentality. We didn't want for anything as far as we had a roof over our head. We always had nice clothes. We always had a place. I mean, we always had food on the table. But, you could tell that my dad just never had extra. I could ask for $1 and he'd be like, I don't got it. And I'm not trying to talk about my dad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. I love my dad. But it's just unfortunate that a lot of people probably was in this type of situation just because of what was instilled in them as with being witnesses. And we know that this is the case, just like the video I talked about recently with the prodigal son. Okay, so I was talking about how they were frowning upon him for wanting to go into corporate America. They was like, just stay in the family business, and it's like, it's not that there's anything wrong with having a construction family business. But perhaps he felt like, besides the fact that he didn't want to do construction, maybe he would make more money doing something else, right? But it was like, that wasn't even, something that was supposed to be appealing to him, because it was going to potentially take him away from Jehovah, right? And the part when I mentioned that his dad said, I used to work for a big company and they're very demanding, and this is all, they're going to pull you away, and, they demand all your time and blah, blah, blah. So it's like, the idea of working for a big company is frowned upon. Like, all of that stuff is just really instilled, and it's these little, slick little messages, these slick little ways that they throw it in there, that a lot of people feel like they can't, they don't focus on that stuff. And so, of course, like I said, I wasn't taught. So when I grew up and moved out, and left the organization, I didn't know about money. I didn't know how to handle money. I didn't know the importance of saving money, investing money, even when it came to how to deal with my retirement. I'm not saying I didn't do those things. I'm not saying I didn't save anything either, but I'm just saying that it wasn't on the top of my list. I always, ended up tapping into my savings, or when it came to my 401k and all of that stuff, I didn't put the maximum amount that I could and take advantage of that. Because why? When I left, like I said, I still thought it was the truth. So I was thinking, well, Armageddon's coming, so what's the point of saving all this money? I want to have this money now. And so that's, that wasn't the right attitude. And again, I'm not saying that witnesses are the only one who deal with this. I'm not. I know there's other people who grow up with this type of, scarce or broke mentality, and then they don't know how to handle money, and make some, decisions because of that are not necessarily good money decisions. But just the fact that I know that that does play a role is why I wanted to talk about it, today. I feel like, it's taken very lightly. And obviously, it's very evident with the fact that the system is still here, that it may not end, when y'all think. Like, of course, I don't think that it's going to do that. It's going to end anymore. But, of course, my parents still think that. But they're still not taking it seriously. Like my dad, I was talking to him, I don't know, a couple years ago, about whether he has life insurance and about a will, and, putting money aside for stuff like for funeral service for them and all that kind of stuff, just in case, because you never know, right? And he was just like, that's just not really that important. And I know why he said that, because he really thinks that ultimately he's going to be taken care of by Jehovah, and probably most likely this system cannot continue to go on, and so it's just pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy that they have that mentality, and it's because of this belittling of the necessity of money. Again, like I said, I know that that's changed a little bit, but still, many of them have been in there for years before that concept changed, and they already had that mindset. So they don't just change overnight just because now the society is starting to be more open. They're not gonna, my parents or my dad is not gonna just go to school to try to get some good, degree or something now at this point, because, he lived his life so long doing it this particular way. But yeah, it's like, it's the end is right around the corner, so there's no reason to invest. There's no reason to try to make money. Remember, Solomon said it's striving after the wind, and that is the ideology that many of them hold, and therefore they end up living check to check, and not really very happy when it comes to that. They're okay with barely making it by. And it's like, the way the organization presents that is you're supposed to be happy with that. You're supposed to be happy with that because you're putting kingdom interests first. And so it's like, I'm not saying that you need a whole lot of money, that you're supposed to, try to strive to be wealthy, but having more money is better than having less money. I know that much. And it's more about the comforts and the things that it allows you to do. It's not really the love of the money itself. So there's nothing negative in that. It's nothing negative in that. Yeah, but one other thing I wanted to say too is, again, I know that a lot of the things about going to school and, getting these certain jobs and stuff has been downplayed. But I remember watching something on XJW, Critical Thinker. I'll put the video link in the description. It was JT, and I don't know, it was the guy who talks with him sometimes. He said something about almond, I don't know, because he's a light-skinned guy. But they were talking about black men, Jehovah's Witnesses and the black man, I think is what it was called, right? And they were talking about how when it comes to black men sometimes that didn't, maybe didn't get in corporate America, maybe didn't get a particular type of education, particular type of job. Sometimes when they get in the congregation and move up, or get in the organization and move up the ranks within the organization, like ministerial servants and elders, circuit overseers, service overseers, all of that stuff, that they may feel, a certain level of success with getting in these positions because they didn't experience that outside of the organization. They're probably not currently experiencing that a lot of times because they're not striving to get these type of jobs. They're trying to get trade jobs and stuff like that, which I'm not knocking anything like that, but I'm just trying to say, what they were saying in the video. And so they're doing all that. And so when they have these positions in the organization, sometimes it makes it very difficult for them to actually leave because they feel important. They feel this sense of themselves being, an elder and having these elder meetings and all these responsibilities, right? And it adds to their, their feeling of success, I would say. And I find that interesting because they were kind of explaining why this religion kind of has a certain hold on certain black men. And I definitely believe that could be, a true statement. Just looking at my dad, and thinking about how he is and thinking about how he didn't really have that, really outside of the organization. And, I'm not saying that's the only reason he's staying, of course. But I just think that is a quite interesting, thought to kind of consider. But anyways, I really didn't have much else to talk about this. Again, like I said, if you know of anybody who dealt with this, if you personally dealt with this growing up, if you found that after you left you had a problem with money because you didn't learn about it growing up like I did, leave that in the comment. Just let me know because I don't know sometimes. A lot of times I don't know, how many people that's on this watching this channel actually has experienced that. So it's just, I'm just curious to see. So that's all I wanted to say, you guys. So I hope that you have a great week, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.